Matt, coming for the for the work session or for the second part?
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Yeah, yeah, right.
See when I was-
Great.
I can't see. So.
He's being fitted and start our first conversation next month.
Fishing guy.
Fishing guy.
Yeah, include you in that. For like the one that wants to fish near Wilcox Dock. Okay.
Yeah, I got that. Okay. At this time, I'd like to call to order the City of Plattsburgh Common Council work session for the regular meeting of September 5th. It is 4:40 p.m. The agenda, there have been some back and forth on a couple of items. I do want to touch on those items right away. The Greyhound contract, there was a conversation about a month to month. We hadn't changed that, but in the when we go to question, I will look to make a motion to amend the contract to change the language of that section to a month to month. I have talked to both vendors. I talked to Greyhound and Trailways. They both are amenable to that and understand the nature of why the council would like to change that. They have no problem with changing it. And so again, that from that email thread and from the original email I sent on August 28th, I think, something like that. Those are the items that came out. Those are the items that came out as a concern that we're looking to change. Per that discussion as well, based on the concerns over the crime development, we also spoke to Dean DeVito, whom you all met. He also understood that, and I sent that message back to you all, that response that I received from Dean, also understanding that there was no real issue with the use of that facility, understanding that it is a temporary use, even if that's temporary means a year and some months. So.
I do have a couple of other questions.
Yeah,
if that's
please.
okay.
Sorry, counselors, as well as Counselor Bond, as well as we have Matt Rogers, who is here to update us on the comp plan process and where we're at in the comp plan. He's gonna jump on after we work through some of this work and then
Okay.
Take some time as well.
Do you want me to go now?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
That area down there,
Yeah.
it's kind of dark, little dismal. Is there going to be at night? I don't know the last time it is that the last bus is at night.
Okay.
Are there going to be extra buses or extra PD patrols?
Yeah,
What's
per
gonna happen?
the recommended solution, and I think I also included this in the summary. We will have security cameras that feed directly into PD. We'll have additional active patrols, just cars just like rolling through on a regular basis where they don't already. There are lights down there. There's electricity down there, running water,
Right.
and there's a shelter facility. We do know that facility currently is used just from people loitering. We feel that because it will now be an active facility, that loitering will probably diminish in favor of having people there using the facility for that layover.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the garbage and everything pickup
Yep.
is still going to be, we're still gonna do it,
Yes.
but it's coming out of the
Correct.
money that, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So whatever is paid towards the licensing agreement, that money then goes to paying for the operation of that facility, the cleaning of that facility through third party. During the inclement weather, we may put porta johns out because the water freezes up in that building. You probably know that.
Oh, yeah.
And so that that licensing fee also goes towards paying that, as well as any electricity costs to run the building.
Okay.
That licensing fee will also go to pay that down as well.
Okay, one other thing, last that I knew, I haven't been part of the market for 3 years now, but they had stuff in there still.
There's nothing in there.
Nothing?
We've been
Okay,
in
then
there
they
several
must have
times. There's
taken
nothing
it
in
out.
there.
Good.
And also
It was
note,
costly stuff, so. it
yeah,
needed to
and I'll
come
also
out.
note that the conversation of using the farmer's market came up when we were first approached back in whenever. Understanding the sensitivity surrounding that building and the farmer's market not currently operating there, that was not a first option for us. It was more like, let's put that on the back burner. And then through the conversations, through lack of a real tangible solution, other than moving them somewhere, there was really no other place to move that service. And we said, all right, what if we just launch the farmer's market temporarily as a stopgap? To your point, Councilor Talon, yes, the town's planning board has approved work to be done at Sunoco. We all know that. We knew that going into this. We knew that, again, this was a temporary measure in favor of them moving to a different location. That looks like it will be the new location, but it is going to take some time for that development to happen. So in the interim, in the stopgap, everybody is aware. Those folks who are town's aware, we're aware, Greyhound's aware of the entire ecosystem of what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I got.
Thank you. Alicia, kick it off to you. You want to hand it off to you and you can take it over and get Matt going.
So we're Matthew Rogers, who is our project lead of Lavella Associates for the zoning update process. He's zooming in with us this evening. And just to go over, we've got a couple of handouts that you should have been provided. One is the short-term rental memo and proposal from the PAC committee, as well as an update on the ADUs.
Did you get that? I don't have to. Was
it shared electronically?
No.
I
What's the
don't
question?
Okay.
Well, we can review it and we'll send it out. Okay.
And what Matt can do, I apologize, I assumed, and that was a breakdown of my communication. I assumed that we would be providing handouts, but what we can still do is provide an overview of, our stance on the short-term rentals and, give an update on the proposed ADU, portion of the zoning update. And without any further ado, I would like to pass it over to Matt Rogers. And that, I'm not sure if you heard us, but council does not have copies of the handouts.
Okay. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So just to clarify, you don't have the copies in front of you, but did you receive them at all? The short-term rental memo and the ADU regulations?
No.
No.
No, okay, all right. Okay, so I'll guess we'll just introduce this and we'll make sure you guys get a copy of those. And then we can revisit this next time. So I'll start with the short-term rentals first. I will, it looks like I can share my screen here. I'll share the actual memo. Not expecting you guys to read this, but kind of give you an overview. So essentially what the pact is we had a chance to start talking about if there's a need for the zoning ordinance to further regulate short-term rentals beyond the city's current short-term rental registry. So the council passed a law back in December of last year that required all short-term rentals go through a registration process. And we started there, went through that, and felt that handles about 90% of what most communities regulate in terms of short-term rentals. It deals with the primary issues of public health and safety, ensuring that the city is aware of the number of tenants that might be in any one particular unit, that fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, CO detectors, etc., are included, that the size of the facility of the unit is adequate for the number of tenants that the owner wants to provide occupancy for, house rules, contacts for who's operating that, and then a process for dealing with complaints and violations. So no need for the zoning to duplicate that in any way. The short-term rental registry is adequately addressing that. What it doesn't do, obviously, doesn't regulate where they're permitted, if there's special limits or prohibitions in certain districts. It does not do that. And that's kind of where we wanted to come in and determine whether or not the zoning regulations should address that. So help us with that. We considered a bunch of questions, like what have we heard from the public through the smart code zoning update process with our 4 public meetings. How many are in the community? Where are they located? What are the occupancy levels? Should they be permitted in all residential types, single family, 2-family, multifamily, accessory dwelling units, et cetera? Should they be prohibited or capped in any particular district or citywide? And then what other refinements would the PAC recommend to the registry or through the zoning regulations? So again, I don't expect you guys to be reading this. You do see my screen though, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So we've gotten limited public input because we haven't necessarily addressed short-term rentals specifically in the public meetings, but we did get some questions or concerns from people that, some felt that they should be banned completely. Others felt that they should be allowed, but under controlled circumstances, and making sure that they shouldn't proliferate just strictly as investment properties. So units being built just to short-term rent. Right now, again, as I say, any existing short-term rental or any new one can operate as long as they go through the registration process. So we have access, and anybody has free access to a variety of platforms out there that track short-term rentals. And so we use what's called AirDNA, and we have a kind of a basic subscription, but it allows us to dig into some details. And as of last week, there's about 68 short-term rentals, and we've had conversations with the building department, and they're now using this as a way to kind of track down those that have not registered. And that's not uncommon. A lot of communities that have a registration process, they have to actively monitor the sites and contact the operators to get them registered. And then, of course, if they don't, then they can proceed with enforcement actions. So there's about 68 in the city. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, and they vary, every month. And that site only updates on a monthly basis. Concentrated generally in the residential historic district, Point Historic District, and then the Village Suites apartment on South Catherine Street. A good number of those are listed as short-term rentals. The rest are scattered throughout the city, no other real concentration. And then the lower map here, again, it might be difficult to see, but the data that AirDNA provides is only for what they call the Plattsburgh submarket, which includes Beekmantown, Peru, West Jay-Z, right up to the Canadian border. So the vast majority of them are concentrated along the shoreline, because typically they are for tourism, hospitality type uses. The ones within the city are probably a combination of that, possibly traveling nurses and others that might be utilizing them. And again, the short-term platforms provide a service for, not just typical hospitality, but I believe they're also used for those such as traveling nurses and others that need a little bit more longer term than a couple days or a week. So then we looked at the kind of breakdown, and again, this breakdown is for the entire submarket, not just for the city, but the vast majority are renting entire homes, and those in a home could be an apartment building or apartment unit or a single family home. They don't distinguish between the two with that data. 1 to 3 bedrooms is primarily the numbers that the resident type that they're renting out. Occupancy level is about 50%, and obviously they increase during the summer months. Average length of stay at 30 days. So that kind of gives us just a general snapshot. Is there anything in there that is going to drive policy. Not really. Where they're located, it does kind of help us in considering future policy adjustments. But these locations, just like if we've ever utilized Airbnb or VRBO, you know that where they put the dot is not where the structure is. You don't find that out until you've confirmed your reservation. So those are general, and we should recognize that for policy purposes. So one of the first questions we addressed is short-term rentals be permitted in all housing types, including accessory dwelling units. In the PAC was confirmed that they would rather not allow them in ADUs. And the rationale there is the ADUs that are currently allowed in the code and the adjustments we're going to are proposing through this code is they're essentially a density bonus. So you don't have, so if you don't have the acreage for a 2-family dwelling, if you follow the requirements of the ADU, a unit will be approved, but it has to be smaller than the principal structure, and you have to comply with a variety of other regulations. So that's kind of a density gift, a density bonus. So the PAC felt that if we're giving somebody a bonus, the intent here is that we want to provide additional long-term housing options, and that we should not be giving somebody an additional unit without having to have the acreage and then allow them to turn around and rent them on a short-term basis, while also recognizing and balancing, the need for property owners to supplement their income, et cetera. And this doesn't prohibit them from doing that. They can build a whole, second apartment unit in their basement, whatever the case may be, that's larger than 800 square feet, which would be the limit, and they can short-term rent, that unit. So the PAC was pretty adamant that they should not restrict them. At least there was a consensus. Rarely is there, a unanimous vote on that, but there was a consensus that they should be prohibited from accessory dwelling units, but all other residential types could be allowed. Single family units and 2-family and units in multifamily could be permitted. And that's the current process right now. Again, there's no limit on what units can be rented out on a short-term basis. Then the next larger conversation was, should there be a citywide or district level cap or prohibition in certain zoning districts? So, that's a tough one to tackle. So what we did is we wanted to evaluate kind of where the city is at in terms of its vacancy rate for rental and owner occupied. And the best data that's available is through the U.S. Census American Community Survey, which is a 5-year rolling average. And that data is always a year or so behind before we get it. So you kind of have to recognize that when you look at these numbers. But for rental housing, it's about 3.3% vacancy rate, and owner occupied 2.9. That's a pretty tight housing market, and it's probably not news to the council. And a healthy rate is around 5%. So clearly, the current situation limits access to quality housing, and not only just quality affordable housing, but just quality housing in general, whether that's owner occupied or rental occupied. So we felt that was an important number to keep in mind to help consider whether or not some type of adjustment should be considered going forward. So the PAC was not prepared to recommend a particular cap at this point or prohibition in any district, and felt that with only 68 units right now out of the total 7,865 units within the city per the building department's records, that it's a little less than 1% right now, 68. And, that's being confirmed, Kyle and the building department are actively going through and confirming which ones are short-term rentals are actively operating, and we'll get them registered and get a final number. So what we had suggested is that the council consider a threshold, a triggering point, where down the road, if the number of registered units exceeds a threshold, so whether that's 1% or up to 2%, then that would trigger a more detailed evaluation, not through the smart code update process, because, you know, that would have to be separate because we still have some work to do, and a short-term rental analysis is a whole project on its own. But so what the PAC had recommended is the council consider establishing a threshold, amending the short-term rental registry to identify that, at which, if that threshold is met, an analysis would, you know, the council essentially would direct the planning department to establish a group and set up a process to consider if there is a need to establish a cap citywide or in a particular district, with the primary goal of intending to preserve long-term housing, and balancing the fact that there's no current hotels in the city. And I think the note I had gotten earlier was that there's a significant number in the town, and then I have 1,200 rooms, I think, in the town, and that we recognize that hospitality is important within the city to bring people in, to stay during events, during open house and tours at the college, et cetera, and that they should not be a replacement for any future hotels, which hopefully will come our way. But we recognize that, you know, we can't just not allow short-term rentals. There has to be that opportunity here. So, but the idea would be to look at where the short-term rentals are. You know, maybe there'll be an oversaturation in a particular district, whether that's the Point Historic District, Residential Historic District, whatever the case may be. Maybe there's an oversaturation citywide. So this threshold would trigger that review, and then let that process play out. The PAC has not detailed all the steps that would go into that, and that's something that a recommendation that we could provide down the road. But we first wanted to introduce kind of the PAC's current thinking and demonstrate that we have thought about short-term rentals in the context of zoning, and that other than adding them to the use table as an official use, so they would be allowed in every district where residential uses would be allowed, and they would not have to go through a separate process. It would be through the current rental registry process. So we're not looking to duplicate that. So we'll kind of memorialize that they're allowed in all these districts, and the rental registry process is all they'll need to go through. But that's the extent of the PAC's recommendations for the short-term rentals right now. Again, we feel that the registration law adequately addresses all of those. So no other adjustments are recommended at this point, other than having the Common Council consider establishing a threshold that, you know, when we advise going above 2%, once you get there, because the more units that are, because they're not necessarily building units to short-term rental, it's existing units. So they are coming off of the long-term market. And, you know, you're not in a position similar to, say, Lake Placid or Saranac Lake, where it's putting significant strain on their long-term housing market. But it's not to say that you might not reach that at some point in the future without some types of checks and balances. So that's a quick overview of that memo. And, you know, I'm obviously happy to answer any questions that you might have, whether it's now or once you get a chance to absorb this a little bit more. You know, certainly we'll revisit this with the council over the next few months. So I'll pause there and allow for discussion or questions.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, Matt.
Sure.
In your report that you just went over with us, you say the extremely low vacancy rate in the city strongly suggests the access to quality affordable housing in the city is severely limited. Additional conversions may intensify housing market pressures. What does that mean exactly?
So the more
Intensify housing market pressures, what does that mean?
right, so that you know, probably could have worded it a little bit differently, but the point there is that the more long-term units you pull off the market and allow them to be rented on a short-term basis, the lower the vacancy rate is going to be. So it's going to make it that much harder for somebody to find long-term housing. It has the, you know, just pulling one off the market and in and of itself doesn't necessarily, you know, make a difference. But as you pull, the more that you do, it increases the competition for those that are trying to find quality, affordable housing, which drives prices and directs residents to live outside of the city. And then in certain cases, having to settle for lower quality housing than what they might be looking for. So that's the point there. The more you rent out on a short-term basis, the less available for long-term living.
Okay. My other question has to do with the final page of your document, where you say, excuse me, the advisory committee advises against establishing a threshold above 2%. So I just want to be able to understand what your recommendation is. If we go up, I guess I don't really understand. It's okay. Maybe this could be explained to me now, because I'm rereading it. I'm like, I don't really understand the analysis and then the recommendation. And then secondary to that, to trigger an analysis and basically put, if I'm understanding what you said correctly, put a hold on more short-term rental of registrations.
Right. So I'll just kind of revisit this. So the idea here is that we're not ready to recommend a particular cap because we haven't done an analysis in any beyond what you see here. And we felt that if we identified a firm cap, then it would be arbitrary and not based upon further analysis and looking at how other communities deal with these situations in the, that are similar to Plattsburgh. Recognize every community is going to be different. So the recommendation here is that you consider a threshold between, 1% and 2%. The PAC advises establishing a threshold above 2%, but if the council's position is to do that is your position. But the point here is that we felt that getting up to about 157, 160 short-term rentals, which is about double what we have right now, anything more than that, we feel could have more noticeable impacts on the availability of housing.
All right. So something
okay.
like that would then trigger the other point that you clarified for me earlier.
Right, it would trigger an analysis, essentially, and we specifically didn't say that we recommend a moratorium. So that would be something else for you to consider. That, ideally, if you're going to study something like this, you might want to put a moratorium on that, on any additional short-term rental registrations. And then you would go through could be a 3 to 6 month process, maybe shorter, to get a firm understanding of how many are registered, where they're located, what's the current vacancy rate, having conversations with realtors, property owners, and trying to get a full understanding of the situation and what impacts this might be driving towards related to the limited housing for everybody. And it's not just affordable housing. It's single family homes, being whether they're owner occupied or renter occupied, rental units, and those that are available at an affordable rate. So it would trigger that study. And again, we purposely didn't get into the specifics of exactly every step of that study, but that would be something that we'd be more than happy to provide suggestions on down the road.
And is a set of recommendations that you'd be willing to provide already something that would be part of our current agreement with, so it would be a second?
That would be a further analysis,
And so for the contract, further spending.
correct?
Okay.
Yeah, and again, it's not something that necessarily Labella would do. It could be something that could be handled in-house too.
Okay.
But it would be separate from the smart code update process.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have the capacity to do both at the same time. And the point of this too wasn't expecting that you guys are gonna make a decision tonight, but we wanted to let you know that we have been considering this and this is the PAC's position. And knowing that short-term rentals and then accessory dwelling units have been kind of the more hot button issues as of late, we wanted to be able to provide the Common Council with this information in advance of receiving the entire zoning update. so that this could be addressed, or at least begin to address these issues sooner rather than waiting until you're presented with a full code. So any more discussion on the short-term rental memo? Any immediate concerns? Any further questions?
Maybe over the overarching timeline of what's next for the actual zoning rewrite and that process.
Right, so
Yeah, like an updated timeline or updated, are we expecting something next week or expecting something in a few months?
yeah, so a full code, initial draft code will be available in October. If there are other specific sections that you're interested in, that we'd be more than happy to provide those to you in advance. Because what you will get is a combination of the zoning law, the subdivision law, some other chapters that were within the city code. So it'll be a pretty beefy document, but that'll be accompanied by a presentation that outlines kind of the main changes that the code is recommending. So, but again, if there's other particular issues you're interested in, we'd be happy to provide that. And then I'll just mention that the accessory dwelling unit draft that was provided, that represents the PAC's final set of recommendations. And unless there's specific recommended changes by the council, that's what you'll see in the full draft. So it hasn't really changed in any significant manner since we presented this at the last Common Council update, I think it was in June. And it follows kind of the approach that we've been taking. You know, it's fairly similar to what you have in place right now, but the kind of the major things is we removed the deed restriction, the owner occupancy restriction, that are an enforcement issue, as well as just an unnecessary aspect of the ADUs, particularly the deed restriction, because that is, you know, where it can't be, well, one has to be owner occupied, and we feel that if you're going to allow ADUs, having that restriction would significantly reduce the viability of those, because then somebody can't sell the property, and or if they wanted to rent it out half the year and live in Florida, that might prohibit that. But for the most part, we've kept everything else in there, making sure that they don't proliferate in any particular area, particularly the R1 district. You know, you either get you're allowed for 2-family or an ADU, and you have to have at least a 1/4 acre lot size to get an ADU in the R1 district. Address setbacks, height issues, and general design standards of exterior design and materials. So I won't go through the whole thing, but if you have initial questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or in the future.
Any questions, Matt or Alicia, on this issue process? Okay. We do also have a number of items on the agenda from community development. We can talk about those. We could also turn it over to Department of Public Works for update on projects. Council.
I thought I saw Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew, the last meeting that we had where I had several questions about Market Street, I never heard an update. Would you be willing to provide those updates?
Sure.
There were some things that you were looking into.
Yeah, so there were 2 things. One of them, I was able to get the answer. The second one, I have not heard back from CNS yet. So the first question you had asked about the size of the pipe exiting Margaret Street, that is a 42-inch line that goes out to the river.
It's a 42-inch line.
Yep, 42-inch.
And that's stormwater?
It's a combined sewer overflow. So it has a storm line that comes into it. It's generally sanitary underneath, and then stormwater goes out, and when you get a combined sewer overflow, it overflows into the river. So it's a combined system there.
So my notes from last time, when I asked you about what was the size of the pipe, so where Margaret Street meets Broad,
Yes,
okay? And you said that it was there was an infiltration trench.
yep, so the infiltration trench goes from Broad Street down past Harney's to Brinkerhoff Street.
Can you describe what that means?
Yep, so an infiltration trench is basically this one, in this case, in some spots, it's almost 17 feet down. So the pipe lays in crushed stone and it's perforated pipe. So that allows some water that gets stored in the pipe to percolate out into the soil. So not only is water getting transferred from the pipe out to the river, but it's also allowing some of that water to percolate out into the ground. And that's actually a DEC requirement for water quality control. There's different ways of doing it. That's the one that the design engineer ended up going with for this project.
And I asked you about flow rates.
So the other question was whether CNS had designed the project to a 100-year flood event. That is the one that I have not gotten an answer on.
Okay.
I have contacted them, but they have not given me an answer yet.
So we don't know what the flow rate and precipitation calculations, we don't.
Well, those calculations you may not get. Those are proprietary information from the design engineer. They're not going to provide us with the flow rates. They might tell us that they designed everything for a 100-year flood event or doing a 100-year flood event, but the actual flow rates that they calculated, that information, I don't know that they'll give that to us.
Why not? We
It's-
paid them.
But yeah, you pay them for the design plans, but generally that information is proprietary information.
Why is that?
That's, as long as I've known, that's always how it's been. So for the 20 years that I've been in engineering.
Okay.
Because they don't want to tell you.
So why would that be?
It's a
proprietary?
secret.
Well, generally because they could be afraid of a lawsuit. There's several different reasons why they would not want that information out. I can't tell you, I can't tell you that they wouldn't provide it. I don't know that they would provide it. I contacted them and asked them for some things and they said they would look into it and get back to me and they have not
Not
done that yet.
forthcoming.
Is there any reference of it in the contract that was created that became binding as part of our agreement with them and the payment?
Not for the design, for that portion of it. We had in our contract to get copies of digital copies and paper copies of the actual design plans, but not any calculations that were used to determine flow rates.
If you have the design plans, would you be able to calculate that?
I don't have the programs or the capability to do that. I'm not a licensed professional. That's something a licensed professional has.
I see.
I'm vexed. I don't like that answer at all.
Unfortunately, that's what I've got right now. I mean, I can reach out again, but
Please,
Sure.
if you could.
Yep.
Because I think that we have the right to know that information.
sure.
And if it's not proprietary, then I would like to see a follow-up
Okay.
to receive that information. Okay. I think those were the were those the outstanding?
Those were the two that I had written down.
Has there been any flooding? Repeat flooding since the big event in, I guess, what was that? Was it June?
End of June, I believe.
Has there been anything?
To my knowledge, that was the only one that we had downtown. We were not.
Thank you. The folks in the audience, I'm sure they're like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, thank you for quantifying down.
I say downtown.
Yeah.
We have had several others throughout the city because we have had very large rain events.
Yeah.
In other places in the city, but as far as downtown, the only one that I have been made aware of where there were issues were that June, I think 20th event.
I've asked a couple people, and I've said, I was down shopping last week and I said, so how is the water situation and quote, as long as it doesn't rain.
We've had several other rain events and some of them were very large rain events where we did have other spots in the cities that flooded that it did not happen on Margaret Street. If you drive down Margaret Street, they keep sandbags right by their doors and
That's what, yeah,
if they think it's gonna rain, they drag the sandbags out and there hasn't been a need for them since that one rain event.
You might wanna notice outside the city hall doors.
I have.
Let's stack up outside there.
Yes.
So.
That one, every time it rains, we've been hitting water.
And,
City.
yeah, and that's why they're there. This is unprecedented rainfall. City Hall this year, I want to say Richard probably got the best knowledge, but 6 times this year, Rich? Four. We prevented number 5.
So Andrew, oh,
Rain event was, an inch in 8 minutes. Yeah. And I thought it was so fast downstairs, it looked like you were always the top.
so I have an unrelated question to Margaret Street. It has to do with some broken lines that happened quickly. One on Ruger Street, one in Protection Alley, one on what?
We've had 5 water breaks actually last month. We had 3 main, we had 2 service line breaks. All different type breaks, all in different locations throughout the city.
Right, and what were they? Well, you said different types. What were they?
You had a shear break, we had a blowout, we had a spiral break. All different styles of breaks, all different locations spread out evenly through the city, almost. There's no seismic activity that I could detect. I went back and checked. Called around, to see if they had done blasting at the quarries, because it was a survey. Usually you can get them in a series of 3, but they're usually localized, not spread out throughout the city.
Could there be any other reason or cause for them, like pressure in lines or
Well,
anything?
we have the ability to monitor that, and we check our records, and we do not see any anomalies in the pressure monitoring system we currently utilize. So I'm gonna say probably, again, we're looking at a water table issue, really wet year. We're getting towards the back end of it. Notice there's a lot of asphalt issues coming up, like delamination, not potholes, but that top layer comes off. And I get a lot of constituents that are calling saying they have potholes. They're not potholes, it's really just the top layer. With this much rain, this much saturation, certain areas of the city, the ground is just can't take any more water. A great example is over on Ohio Ave. We had a bunch of patches we had to do over there. We patched, we ran the roller over it. Water was pumping right out of the ground. That's how much water. So I'm gonna chalk those leaks up, probably just groundwater conditions and fire road pipe.
Not related to that, but I emailed, and I believe I included you on the email thread about a gentleman who had reached out to me about who is responsible for the section of Route 22 after Crate Boulevard to the airport. And I mean, I know that's not city property, but I just wanted to be able to close the door on that. I never got
Responsible for
paving, paving and repair.
Yeah, paving and repair is ours.
It is our.
Yes.
From where now? In front of the
city-
airport?
Out in
Yes.
front of the
In front of the
That's what
airport
I'm
is.
asking. So at the end of the city line, or the city boundary, I.
Yeah.
Well, the airport entrance in the city boundary are 2 different places.
Yeah, so from the city boundary, I think it's west towards the interstate is not our responsibility. From the city boundary towards what would be like Southside Grocery and South Peru Street, that is.
Oh,
our
no, I know that. I know
Right.
that. So.
Yeah, everything outside of the city, we have no responsibility
That's
for
what
anything.
I mean, they knew the answer, but I wanted
Yep.
to be sure because I just wanted.
Yeah, I
to
thought I
close-
answered too.
Yeah.
But I've asked you.
I just want to close the book.
When we get to the end of Arizona, and then Andrew and I had the conversation, because I did see the email thread, but I see you and the mayor were conversing intensely on this about responsibility. And we plow typically in towards the city, towards Southside Grocery out of Arizona, but that we own just past.
It's about 200 feet past the tracks.
And.
Border
we
Yes.
get up-
Yeah.
And I knew that. So.
80% that we point of reference, 80% that we did that crossing, they did so poorly that they people kept calling and complaining to us, I can't get it right away, so fortunately. I wanna say it was like 4 years ago, we ended up
Yeah.
getting back into the right of way with them, to fix their paving down and stuff down the road. It's kind of a, swirly area.
I knew the answer, but I just, I didn't want to assume.
Yeah.
When to definitively get
And
that.
I'm not positive whether that is a state. Yeah, that's gotta be state, because that's route.
State route.
Yeah,
States,
yeah, so that's the state's responsibility.
and they plow back. and forth.
It's not the plowing, it's the condition of the road.
Yeah.
Was the complaint. Okay. I do have one final public works question.
Sure.
And that is an inquiry from a resident in my ward about. This is the request. The request is for striping. For pickleball in Blue Met Park. So I don't know.
That's-
Recreation question, but-
I know, so I don't.
Just like the questions about the engineering is the engineering question. Pickleball striping out at Lumet.
Yes,
I know that Lumet is currently under
Yeah.
renovation.
Yeah.
That would be a question for Courtney. I don't know if there's in that project, if there's pickleball striping.
one of the, well, I guess one of the questions that my friend asked was. Couldn't the city just stripe the ground and we'll provide the nets or whatever? And I said, I don't know, I will ask, so.
Yeah, was it a request from someone about taking the ice rink? Okay, I might have talked with the same person.
Probably did.
Potentially, we had a good conversation about talking about the cost of resurfacing that to suit pickleball, you know, we had the comparable cost of what we did at South Acres. Which helps set the context, it's like why this would be something that would be a bigger project than just having, you know, our own public works people out and put some paint on the ground, and so. We had a conversation about it, we didn't leave it, you know, at any definitive, here's what we would do next, but it's definitely something we can. You know, what we take back as a department, we analyze, you know, where the things are going in the direction of our parks master plan, what the community is looking for. But I was trying to do a little bit of context setting too with this resident about cost and, you know, because to play on pickleball, on the ice rink, playing pickleball is not going to be the same experience as playing ball courts. But if you want to reconnect me to that person, they have one question, but not be the same.
Okay, I will do that. You, Andrew.
Anybody else? All right, thanks, guys.
Mayor, I
Thank
have
you.
like
Yes, please.
8 million questions
Spit them
at
out.
6 minutes.
One by one. Well, you get them all in. Good luck.
Dude, yeah,
Hey, did you say dude?
yeah, dude.
There.
All right, the biggest one I'm gonna ask, and then I'll ask my other ones during regular season, regular
Yeah,
session.
yeah, we got time.
Mike. On July 3rd, we talked about the South Acres barn roof.
Yes.
The resolution, we all voted yes, but that wasn't a yes to, oh, I get a new roof. Right? That wasn't, I'm gonna, you know, that was just,
You have to create a capital project, and then go ahead and hire an engineer to do the design.
right, so it's not like I'm gonna just automatically get one. It's not like it's,
No.
yeah.
And right now, the effort is the.
Yeah.
Beach back.
But where are we at with that? Because we did create the capital project to do the design and the reconstruction of the roof, correct?
Yeah, I believe we did.
It was all-
Yeah, we have, there's so many.
Yeah,
going on
no, I know.
Right now,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to get the beach back.
Yeah, no doubt. yeah. If you had hair to pull out, it'd be gone.
Yes.
Yeah,
So my thing is, and this goes to Courtney. I'm not getting a roof. What am I getting?
Well, so,
In my
Counselor,
park?
Counselor Bond, sorry, the resolution that we passed in July. Was for the design and the reconstruction of the roof.
But I'm
Now,
not getting it.
what do you mean you're not getting it?
I'm not, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a while.
I mean, probably a season, like, you know, you pass the resolution, you go through design, then you do the construction phase. So spring,
Don't believe it.
that's the cycle. I mean, you know, well, that's the cycle that we've been working with all the parks renovations.
I guess I'm a little upset because when all of these parks things started, a lot of it was centered around the kids getting fun new things to play on. I don't know if you took a look when we did our Parks Alive at the play set and it's getting borderline dangerous. We live, that's the south end of town. We have that housing over there. We have, the kids need. So I'm just angry and bitter. I'm like, why, you know, don't need a heated bathroom in Fox Hill. We need a place in South Acres.
I think that I know we're like right at the end, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to give you an answer that's short and really maybe addresses the press, because I hear your frustration and I think we have so many facilities in our community that needs so much work. And we're completing phase one. And my hope is that we'll continue to work together as a department and a city and a council to make sure that this project has a phase two and a phase three. Because there's no way we were able to do everything in that master plan in this one phase, so. I hear you, how do we pick and how do we choose?
It's true, because I don't foresee the necessity. And I'm saying this now, of heated bathrooms at Fox Hill or the Melissa Penfield. I don't see that a necessity when there are kids who would like to play on a safe and nicer play set in a very highly populated area like the south end of town. And I'm gonna push, and I'm gonna push at you, and I'm gonna push at you because I believe wholeheartedly that that should be what's happening.
And also to recognize too that I'm not that powerful and that I wasn't the one who got to just. choose
Oh, no, I
all of
know,
it.
I know.
So what has to continue to happen is that we have a conversation that balances. Structurally what's needed, like where's the most need, right? What the community is looking for, what the funds are. And then we work internally as a team to understand what the internal needs are, you know, and when you look at a lot of these projects right now. There's a lot of bathrooms being redone right now that was identified by both community funds, internal, you know, as a priority for phase one. But those priorities will continue to be reassessed and the new strategy will be set every time we start to talk about, okay, what's phase two gonna look like, what's phase three gonna look like? Because we're able to now, okay, these things were assessed, they were fixed, we can move on to the next thing, and so.
I wish I would have
hope that-
been here in July when we all talked about this, but my daughter was in town and she's numero uno.
And you
So,
know,
I would have liked to.
These conversations back to like the summer of 2022, you know, in fall, when we were really deciding where to start taking these parts. So, you know, the conversation's been happening for a while, and we're bringing people in to the conversation as they come in, and, you know, we always want people's input on it, but I understand, I wish we could do everything.
You know, I mean, I just, it's frustrating for me. It's frustrating. I saw these kids out there the other day and they were trying to keep themselves occupied. There's some broken ball thing out there the other day, and these kids were out there just like taking their bikes and rolling up it. Just because I don't know if their parent told them, no, you can't go up there. I don't know. But, and I'm like, this is just heartbreaking. I want. And I always say my park, my kids, but that's my home down there. So I didn't, that's my piece. I said it and it's done.
Five 30, motion to adjourn the work session. Motion by Councilor Burnett, second. Councilor Bond, all in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Now adjourned. It is time to call the September 5th, 2024 regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Plattsburgh to order. It's now 5:31 p.m. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Charlie, will you please conduct the roll call? Here.
Here.
Here. All councils have received the minutes of the copy of the minutes of the August 1st. Regular meeting. There are no additional corrections. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Now, I need 3 seconds. Council meeting next. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. I'll now recognize those in the audience who can share their thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic. Please come to the podium to be acknowledged. Please come to the podium to be acknowledged, and when called upon, we ask that you state your legal name and address for the record. And in accordance with the organizational rules of order, all speakers will be given 5 minutes to address the council. please.
I screwed up first. Oh, yeah. David Curry and my wife Debbie Zinzer, 15 Waterhouse Street, Plattsburgh.
And you should all have a copy of, Beth sent everybody a copy of something that we
Of
had
an
written,
email
of
that
an
we sent
email
last week.
on this sewer event on
Yeah.
Waterhouse Street.
So this is a bit of a follow-up to the rain events. And so I'm gonna take a little bit from the email, but add some new information that we've gotten in the last week since I sent you this email.
And we're sort of representing the 6 homes that were affected on Waterhouse Street.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we live on a street that has a combined sewer stormwater system. And we live at the low end of Waterhouse Street where it meets Allen Street, where perhaps our future mayor lives. Wendell Hughes lives around the corner of this problem. During heavy rainstorms like that occurred on August 4th, the stormwater drainage is overwhelmed. And what has happened now, the second time this year, is we have had a backup of sewer water into the basements of a half a dozen houses in that neighborhood. And again, as the low point. This is the second time this year. However, it's different on August 4th because the first time it occurred while Precision Trenchless LLC was working on the system. And they actually had the system somehow shut off and they had a 4-inch pipe that was supposed to be handling it. The pump failed and that system was overcome. Precision took responsibility for that event, which occurred in May. However, more recently, we had that 1 inch down
May 23rd.
on August 4th. And again, we had the 6 houses, the same 6 houses in the neighborhood overcome by the storm water.
Sewer water.
Right.
Okay.
Sewer water.
That we had to clean. Yeah.
So we had at the time thought Precision's work was done and that the city had signed off and that it was now a city responsibility since we pay for sewer. However, it's not clear that they are done. And because at that time, it was a Sunday afternoon, in fact, we called the on-call public works folks. They came out and told us that we should submit the bill for the cleanup and mitigation that PM Leary did to the city. Which we have done with the help of Beth. However, today Precision was in the neighborhood again, and someone from Public Works was there. Mr. Jordan, I believe was his last name, and he said, no, they are not done. They are still working. The problem area is the intersection of Allen and Waterhouse, where several lines meet. And it is, again, the low point in the system. So that's apparently the point they're going to be working on at least one more time. Again, this is raw sewage that we're talking about. We really have no option to put in a sump pump and pump it out. This is not stormwater. This is not rainwater. This is sewer that backs up into our basements. It's not gutter problem. It's not street drainage. It's just coming in the sewer line. So that's the situation that we're in. It is an extremely rare event, I will admit, but at this point, we have little confidence in the system going forward. And we have had virtually no communication from the city or the contractors. I should say almost none. And we don't have a contact person to deal with. We don't know when the project's going to be finished. And at this point, of course, we're negotiating with the city's insurance company to find out whether or not we will get reimbursed for the mitigation of this most recent event, which again happened when Precision was off-site. So the public works person who came around, and I don't want to throw him under the bus, said just submit the claim to the city and it would be paid. We realize that's an ongoing investigation that has to occur. So that's the situation that we're in right now. I'll let Debbie add her own points.
Well,
We'll welcome questions.
my biggest thing is lack of communication, and I think it's a health issue. I'm down in my basement slopping up sewer water. Our neighbor had 7 inches of water in his basement with feces floating at one time. So, I mean, this has to be taken care of. I don't know how it's coming from, it gets overwhelmed, and when it rains hard, it's like a lake out in front of our houses. I mean, there's no place for it to go. He goes and cleans the drain and the thunder and lightning to let the water flow down, you know, but we pay a sewer bill. We just want, I don't want to have to take care of sewer in our basement. This is the second time in less than 3 months that it happened. And we have pictures and videos. So we thought the most sensible thing would be to put a backflow valve from the street to these houses so no sewer water can come in. It'd be a lot cheaper than digging up the street and separating the sewer systems. So I don't know, you know, plus we lost property, not already cleaning it, but we've lost stuff in our basements. So I don't know who's going to, we haven't heard anything from Leary, but I'm just concerned about and down near our lawn, we have a storm drain and it smells sewer so bad when you go down there to mow the lawn. So I guess we're speaking on behalf of some of our residents here that are on Waterhouse Street with us because they've all had damage, a lot more than what we have. But I would hope that the city would hear taxpayers.
Does Beth have your number, contact stuff? Yeah.
Beth has it, I think, because
We'll reach out. We'll reach out. We'll come down and just take a look and chat with folks and see.
you know, because there's 6 of us. I mean, it would be an easy fix to put a backflow so we don't have to clean sewer.
Easier than tearing the street up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you all.
Anybody else who'd like to share their thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic? Yeah, please.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Joseph Chiarella. I'm at 22 Cornelia Street, apartment 101. I just moved to Plattsburgh a month ago, learning the ropes a bit. But a few things that I thought of really before we started was I was glad to hear that short-term rentals and rental properties and housing availability was a concern. It's something people are talking about. I am not a homeowner, but I do pay taxes and I do live here, taxes with rent, of course. And if anybody ever worries about parking, driving, another benefit, I don't own a car. So I'm not going to be a burden on that because that is a huge thing what I've learned from teaching myself a lot about this topic is that infrastructure problems, a lot of towns that are new, everything's fine. And as time goes on, they have a backlog of repairs. And it's because you have fewer people paying taxes in the geographical area. And with greenhouse gases, we've all seen what it does. This is going to get worse and worse every year. It's not going to stop. It's not just a flu. It's going to be every year. So we need to have financial sustainability. Quick run on that. And then another thing, something that bothered me a little bit, this might relate to the city annexing townland. I'm not too sure what the history is, but there are some places on Cornelia Street when you go west towards where the Big Lots store is. And the stewards, and then I cheat, I go across the parking lot, the private property, the stewards to get to that parking lot where the bike shop is because there's nowhere to cross. I would have to cross 3 times. I have seen people with mobility problems, less able-bodied than myself, and that is, to me, is inexcusable as although housing is not having your town be accessible. And it's not to pick on Plattsburgh, it's just something I've noticed here. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anybody else would like to discuss the thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic? Seeing none, we'll now move on to correspondence. There's no redistricting commission minutes that were shared with the council for their August 1st, 2024 meeting. There's no other special committee reports. I'll now report that the council approved the payrolls of the various city departments for the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending August 7th, 2024 in the amount of $628,220.19. August 21st, 2024 in the amount of $603,999.19. $913.37, August 28th, 2024, in the amount of $5,041.65, and September 4th, 2024, in the amount of $605,691.36. I'll also report that the common council audited the bills for the weeks ending August 9th, 2024, in the amount of $1,846,647.77. August 16th, 2024, in the amount of $741,630.06. August 23rd, 2024, in the amount of $939,682.75. August 30th, 2024, in the amount of $2,154,372.29, and August 6th, 2024, in the amount of $814,000, $814,162.65. The various city departments have submitted their reports either digitally or verbally. I'll now move on to liaison reports by Public Library, Councilman Manette.
I was not able to attend the last meeting.
Climate Smart Task Force, Councilor Talon and or Avery.
Okay, so I found out recently that, some members of the Climate Task Force are working on an event to take place in Betty Little Arts Park on October 5th from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock. They wanna try to do, kind of a green up cleanup around there, get some things planted for the season, and they're hoping that people will come who wanna learn more about gardening.
Great. No, thank you. Ms. Garland, will you please please read the titles of the resolutions to be acted upon?
Item 7.171, authorized for designated representative to execute grant agreement and authorization expenditure of project costs and local match fund requirements.
Motion by Councilor Talon, second. Councilor Manette, discussion.
Yes, could we get an explanation about this?
Yeah, this is a grant. Yeah, this is a grant awarded to the city of Plattsburgh in the 2023 CFA cycle for inflow infiltration measurements study along river, or just throughout. Great. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Vaughn,
Yes.
Counselor Avery,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Manette.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.172, approve Clayton County Historical Association to install historical marker at 9 Cumberland Avenue.
Motion, Councilor Gibb, second by Councilor Avery, discussion. All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Where's this at?
9 Cumberland Ave, it's right on, is it on the end towards,
It's like next to the temple.
there we go. So we have a number of historical markers that we work with, the Historical Association to plant throughout the city. I think this one is just authorization for that.
Nice.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Item 7.173, authorized Plattsburgh Health Authority contract supplemental police services.
Motion. Councilor Gibb, second. Councilor Avery, discussion.
Yes, can we get a breakdown of what this is going to do, like? So I guess I'm curious to know, is there any deviation from previous contracts? So payment exchange reimbursement, I just want to run down some of the important aspects of this contract.
All right, it's approximately a $30,000 reimbursement through PHA for us to supply an officer to assist with tasks that they require a police officer for. Background checks for applicants and fingerprinting, as well as they specialize in some mediation to assist housing with some of their residential issues, resident on resident issues. They also supplement patrol with investigations specific to housing because they know a lot of the people in that area.
Now, is this a full-time position for an officer, or is this on an as-needed basis?
It's a full-time position as a police officer, but it's a part-time duties for that officer.
So in other words, there's an officer, that's his entire shift, or her entire shifts, you know, at
Not
the PHA
typically.
office. Okay.
Yeah, not typically.
Oh.
they split duties. A lot of times it's to cover our shortages on day shift, so we're not utilizing overtime.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Vaughn,
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Net.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.174. Approve contract with White Knight Kennels for dog control services for stray and abandoned dogs.
Motion by Counselor Avery, second. Counselor Gibbs, discussion.
Is this new?
This is new, so every year we have a contract with two dog agencies, essentially, Dangerous Dogs with Eagle Feather. And abandoned dogs or dogs that have to become property based on some type of crime. This is that contract, Elmore SPCA as because of new ag and market rules, they can no longer house this contract or this contract for other municipal agencies. And so we identified this kennel as a stopgap measure to supply that service. It's required for the city to supply this service. And so this new kennel came up and we need to leverage their services rather than Elmore. These folks are in compliance with that new law to house these animals. And so that's what this is. It doesn't incur additional costs. I believe that the closeout is going to be $4,000 for the remainder of the year. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Vaughn.
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Net.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Sorry.
Yes.
Jump carried. Jump the gun a little.
Item 7.175, approval of tentative memorandum of agreement between the city of Plattsburgh and ASME Local 788.
Motion, Counselor Talon, second. Counselor Avery, discussion.
We got a more complete look at the contract at 12:30 today. I'm happy to vote yes on this, but I haven't read the document. So I'm not gonna vote on something that I haven't fully read. I understand that we met in May, but I could not tell you any specifics from that meeting because we didn't have the actual document itself. So I would like to make a motion to table this agreement so that we can have time to read it over before voting on it. So I'm making a motion to table it.
Motion on the floor to table this item. Second.
Second.
Counselor Moore. Further discussion, all in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, let's do a roll call.
Counselor Vaughn.
Yeah.
This is a motion to table this item.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Net.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Carried. Items contained. Yeah.
Item 7.176, approval of license agreement with Greyhound and Trailways.
Motion. Counselor Talon, second by Counselor Bond. As discussed in the work session, I am going to make a motion to amend the license agreement to change the contract terms from a annual license to a month to month, starting at the time the licensee signs the contract. Motion's on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second it.
Second by Counselor Manette. Roll call for the amended item.
Counselor Vaughn.
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Net.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
I
Carried. There's a question on the table, there's a question on the floor rather, to approve the amended contract, and I'll take question or comments on that.
Well,
Discussion.
Councilor Manette, you chimed in with an email earlier about adding trailways to this. And I don't agree with that, you know, I agree with you, sorry, that was unclear the way I said that. Our goal was to solve the issue that we were having with the Greyhound Run, and I don't want to add trailways to that agreement. At all. I really just want this to be a solution for the Greyhound issue that we've been talking about since August. I don't want to bring trailways there. So then what we would potentially be doing is having both Greyhound and Trailways traffic through that Derby Street parking lot and then making it more congested. And I think adding more problems to the situation and not really creating the solution that we had originally sought. That's my thoughts on that.
Counselor Talon.
Greyhound and Trailways have always kind of worked together, like whenever you've been booking a ticket with Greyhound, sometimes it's a Trailways bus that comes to get you. They're usually scheduled apart from each other, like maybe a few hours apart, so I don't think this is going to be an issue at all. And just, they have always kind of gone together because they're on the same route.
For discussion.
I do agree that it's gonna end up getting a little bit congested. But we don't know how it's gonna run. We don't. In all honesty, we don't know. If we do it month to month with both of them, would it be advantageous to say no to one if we don't want to?
If we want to, but again, in the conversations that we've had, although they're competitive or they're a competing service, we have not seen, and considering that they've also worked their schedules together. We don't necessarily see the amount of congestion that people may think that's gonna happen. Furthermore, you know, when this item came up or when this issue came up, you know, the question is what's the solution? Well, here's the solution. Okay, so here's the solution. So, you know, you're either gonna have congestion on Market or Cornelia and complain about that. You're gonna have congestion in Derbyshire and complain about that. So here it is. All right, here's the solution. I think it's a fair solution. It's temporary. It's not a permanent solution. And everybody knows who's certainly the providers understand that we're doing this so that we can alleviate the original concern, Greyhound or otherwise. Trailways is in the same situation. Where they do not have a place to operate and they're about to not have a place to operate. And I also mentioned the discussion we had with Amtrak providing bus service and then looking at also options to drop off close to their rail station as well.
Yeah, it would be nice seeing how it's, you know, I will give that, yes, definitely.
Any further discussion?
I have a separate issue with this. I know we're talking $1,000 a month. That won't get you much of an apartment in Plattsburgh. We're gonna be responsible for the garbage. I noticed it's right around the corner from my house here. By the end of the weekend, there's garbage all over the floor, all over the yard. I think that there will probably be some damage there. I think it will require extra police observation because there's going to be all these people down there that that weren't there now. So I think it's going to cost us a lot more than what we're envisioning here. I think we should be collecting a little bit more money than we are because I don't think it's going to cover anywhere near the expenses that the city is going to incur in doing this. So I really think we should consider recouping a little bit of our money on this. It's an out of the way area. It's dark down there. It's going to be open. I know we had a problem with skateboarders or whatever down there before. We're definitely going to have to keep a much closer eye on this area. And like I said, it's going to cause a lot more effort on the city's part to keep that up because we're going to be allowing these people into the bathrooms. And from what I've seen in the parks, people abuse these areas pretty heavily. So I just want to make sure, like I said, that's $1,000 won't get you much for an apartment in the city. And we're talking about giving somebody a total use of a public building. I really think we should consider getting a little more money for this.
So Clarence, Counselor, to put things into context, when the farmer's market was using that, they paid $500 for the season. For the entire season. What we're talking about is $1,000 a month. And also, as I outlined in the email in August, security cameras will be up there. There is a cleaning service. Sorry,
it's another expense.
Okay, paid for by the fee. Thank you. Security cameras are in place. PD also understands that there's additional patrols during the time of operation. There are lights, so I don't know. You know, there's lights on the building. There's lights in the parking lot, so I don't really know where you're referencing that it's dark. We do feel that because there will be activity there, there will not be as much of the loitering from some of the other folks that kind of use that area to gather and to hang out, including those folks that decorate the building against the law.
Skateboarders.
So, you know, there's that piece too, and I understand the concern, but again, y'all asked us to create a solution, temporary as such, and here it is.
So,
Yes, but the farmer's market only use the building once a week. This is every day. It's gonna be down there every day, pretty much all day. The farmer's market was very limited hours.
And
Are we-
our original objective was to solve the Greyhound problem. We're inviting Trailways to use this property. And Trailways was not part of the city's problem to solve. They have a current agreement with the Mountain Mart. And I don't agree with bringing Trailways into this agreement at all. I think if we're trying to get the Greyhound bus off the curb on Cornelia, I think that the farmer's market building would be a temporary measure. I'm okay with a motion to amend that agreement as a month to month for Greyhound only. Do not agree with putting Trailways as part of that traffic. We're taking on something that isn't our problem to solve. Greyhound is operating in the city. Let's solve the Greyhound problem. Let's do that as a month to month. And that's it. But I do not agree with putting Trailways on this.
Councilor Manette.
so to Jeff, to the end of, you know, it is on a month to month. And if the $1,000 is, if we find that we're exceeding that cost when we're taking care of it, could we also, we could increase the rent or go into discussions to see if we could increase the rent. I mean,
There are always options.
That's an option that we can look at.
Listen, folks, these folks have always been amenable to conversation to making this work. Hasn't it?
Trailways
Right.
Paying $1,000 a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're technically getting 2,000 a month.
Thank you. Okay, calling the question.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibb.
No.
Counselor Talon.
Yes, let's solve the problem.
Counselor Manette.
Wow.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
No,
Carried.
Item 7.177, authorize, approve, and accept bid prices for 150 South Fruit Street and 36 Monty Street and execution of deeds.
Motion. Councilor Avery, seconds. Councilor Bond, discussion.
Yes, could I have an explanation on this, Richard? Is this a Richard?
No, we'll
question?
hand it to Dean or you
Oh,
can talk to
Dean,
me.
okay.
This is a foreclosure proceeding for these two properties. The city foreclosed upon these, put it to auction. Those two properties went to auction. And we're now at the point of accepting those bids for those two properties. And then signing the deeds, signing over the deeds for those properties.
Are these-
Spelled out in the resolution, surprisingly high, for the big amounts, so that was good news, the private individuals who make those bids, so. Assuming the following resolution is adopted as well, these will both come back with tax rolls in the very near future.
Are these the two that we separated?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Yes, yeah.
yes.
Oh, that also,
One of the next line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yep, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I just have one question regarding this, Dean. So at least one of them, I didn't do the math on the other one, far exceeded the back taxes. And I know that there was, the state had said we can't collect, that the money would go back to somebody. Would that go back to the bidder or how would that work?
So it's. In essence, the Supreme Court issued a decision a few years ago saying that the property owner who had lost the property to taxes. May be entitled to some of those funds, that it could be a takings. So there is that decision from the Supreme Court upended New York state law where. Prior to that decision, the taxing entity or the enforcement entity would be able to retain all of those proceeds and what the Supreme Court viewed as a windfall. Since that time, there has been revisions to New York state law. We still need to make some changes to our city code, but the essential process is now we need to hold that money in escrow after we pay back our back taxes and our cost of collection. And then provide an opportunity for that prior owner to seek to retain or prove that they have a claim on those additional funds. And if they can prove that through a judicial process, then they may be able to retain those funds. If they don't, there's a waiting period and there's potential that the city may be able to retain those funds.
Okay, so it only pertains to prior owners.
Prior.
We're getting money back. So we could potentially get the entire bid.
After.
Yeah, I know, it's, maybe not in our lifetimes, but. Okay, that was my question. Thank you, Dean.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Manette.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.178, community statement of the city of Plattsburgh, city parcel to the tax.
Motion. Counselor Bond, second. Counselor Manette, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Item 7.179, authorize MLB to award bids.
Motion. Counselor Avery, second. Counselor Bond, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Manette.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.180, authorizing MLB to write off unpaid final bills as required by the New York Department of Public Service Regulations.
Motion. Counselor Avery, second. Counselor Manette. Discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Manette.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.181, award of electrical contractor for Melissa Penfield Park bathroom and facility improvements.
Motion. Counselor Talon, second. Counselor Avery, discussion.
Why is it 51,000? I'm gonna ask you on every single one. Yeah. 51, why is it 51? I wasn't here at that meeting, so I just want to know what, you know.
Okay, so
Is that the same one from June?
it's updated.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I've got updated project summary. And.
All right, so Julie, to jump right into your question, what had to happen when we first bid the Fox Hill and Melissa Penfield contracts is that when we got those bids back, they were over 500,000, which triggered what's called the Wicks Law, which means that we need to separate out the subcontractors for any building projects within the municipality. We can't just award it to a general contractor and then let them hire their own subcontractors for things like electrical or plumbing. So we had to take those two projects and rebid them, take out those subcontracts and allow for the electrical companies, the plumbing companies, et cetera, to bid on them separately. So that's why you've got 6 resolutions tonight to approve, because we've got the general contract for both parks, and then we have the 2 subcontracts for them. So that's where you're seeing that 55. That's because the 55 is for the plumbing. It doesn't include the electric and it doesn't include the general. Those are separate awards that we have to award tonight. Because of
It's that involved, it's that bad that it's going to cost that much?
Yeah,
It's almost $1 million, it's almost $1 million for the Fox Hill bathroom.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I mean,
the current one's being demolished and the new one is being.
Yeah.
In a different location.
Yeah, so I think if you look on the second page, those a map of the master plan for South Platte. And you'll see number 7 is where the new bathroom and clubhouse is being proposed to be built. And where the current building is kind of where number 2 is. So we're relocating and we're building a completely new bathroom. We have to relocate utilities. We're using durable materials that are gonna last all season. This is an all seasons park. The bathrooms will be remaining open during the winter sledding months. We have a clubhouse or like a warming area that folks can use for changing. A big reason why we relocated based on community feedback and, you know, master planning efforts was to make this whole building more accessible. You can see now that it's located next to a parking lot. It's more centrally located next to the basketball court, the playground, whereas the old bathrooms, which are now, because of many years of deferred maintenance and neglect and, are completely unusable. So this is where in the master plan, it was proposed to put this new building, and that's what we moved forward into design. We designed the building, which is I've got the plans for the Melissa Penfield Park building in here, but if you skip past that, you can see the plans for the South Platte Street building as well. So that's got a men's and women's washroom facility, as well as a clubhouse. Keep calling it a clubhouse, it's like a warming area for people to use. And then obviously the other needed like utilities, janitorial, those kinds of things.
Yeah, this South Platte Fox Hill is one of the city's only year-round seasonally used park. We've got sledding, as Courtney said, there's one of the only ice skating rinks there as well. And the bathroom there is Courtney said, it's non-existent, essentially, it's closed at this point, so.
I understand that, and that's one of the major points. I went sliding on that hill when I was little, 800 years ago. So I get that, but I'm just having I don't know, I'm just having a lot of difficulty understanding why it has to be so extensive. Maybe because I'm a frugal, and maybe because I'm, I believe in scraping the bottom of the mayonnaise jar, so I don't understand why it has to be so extensive.
Sure.
That's
So,
my
or so expensive. It's,
Huh?
or so expensive. That's almost $1 million for a bathroom.
For a bathroom.
To build a new house.
So it is,
$360,000.
I'm having issues with that.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of people's paychecks.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I'm happy. Here's kind of the setting with which we're in is, happy to bring in AEDA, who's been designing these projects, working with us, when this project was designed quite a while ago based on the master plan and, what was being requested in this park. They took those requests, they created, this plan in here. And then that's what we moved forward to bid. If that needs to be talked about or dug into more deeply, we can bring folks in. It's going to result in, if we don't award the bid soon, it's going to result in this project being delayed. It wouldn't start until next year. So I think that's something that
Would you be able to, how much have we spent on parks being refurbished just up to date?
Look at it, it's on the paper.
yeah,
the very
it's
first.
1.2.
1.2?
Just over 1.2.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that, we did have a conversation about this. I think it was at the beginning of June. We had Blumet, Penfield, and Fox Hill on the agenda. We had a really long conversation about it. I know not all folks were present for that conversation, so I understand that maybe some of this is new information. But it seemed as though we were ready to go kind of at that point, and I know what was holding us up was the Wicks law and needing to go back out and bid and obviously be compliant with things. And so I understand wanting to revisit it. But we're also quite far along. And if there's a discussion we can have to keep moving it along, I'd love to see these.
No, I have nothing wrong with moving it along. It's
Yeah.
just maybe we should consider slowing our roll a little bit so that we're not putting out, so much money to do this seemingly at once.
I want
I think there's-
to have.
I mean, what do you
some
guys
too,
think?
but-
I think there's things that have greater priority. We still need playground equipment at Penfield Park. Sinking this much money in this one aspect of one park is getting the cart before the horse.
Well, just to keep in mind, you could put the fanciest playground equipment with all the towers and the swings and ADA compliance and accessibility, but without bathrooms. you know, that's.
Well, there's
what we're
bathrooms
addressing.
that put at
Well, I don't-
Penfield Park need to be done
Okay, but
too.
they're also in disrepair. That's why this is on the,
Yeah, I
that's
get
why we're talking about why is one of the reasons that bathrooms have been one of the utmost priorities in all of these projects. South Acres fixing the bathroom in the building, Lumet fixing the bathroom, Melissa fixing the bathroom, South Acres or South Platte fixing the bathroom.
And we said in January, February, that was our priority for that parks too, that our bathrooms were our priority. And updating for every park to have a functional bathroom.
We get calls.
With the clubhouse?
I'm not debating the necessity of having them. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, maybe we should just slow down a little bit and realize that $1 million is a lot of money.
It's
to spend on the
an
bathroom.
enormous amount of money.
And I agree with you too, and both of you are slowing down on it, but also Fox Hill is our only seasonal park.
Right.
The only seasonal park in the city of Plattsburgh that's actively used, because everything is my front lawn. I see it every day. In fact, in the last 2 months, it's been the most used outside of sledding season. So I recognize I have a different perspective on that end, but not having heated bathrooms there, better off just demolishing it and not having bathrooms that keep the porta johns there. Which we're doing across the city, even though we did make it as our priority in January and February conversation, bathrooms in the city of Plattsburgh.
And also just this is also part of what a significant amount of community engagement helped define this project, helped define the priority of these, of the items that are coming before this council. This is not just me, Courtney and Alicia and everybody else sitting in the room being like, hey, these are good ideas. This is what was months upon months of reaching out to community members, having public work sessions, introducing these projects at Parks Come Alive and getting feedback on terms of what people's priorities were. And in terms of having a new playground equipment at Melissa, yes, and we presented that last time. That's part of the grant cycle that we applied for. You know, pretty confident that we're going to score pretty high on that. That's a regional asset right here in the city of Plattsburgh, but we still need bathrooms.
Yeah.
And we have a severe lack of the beach. Talk about what are we doing at the beach? One of our first priorities is putting a new bathroom in the vendor building because we just have a lack of those types of facilities that people every single year are calling my office saying, why do I have to use a porta john? When are the bathrooms going to be open? What's wrong with these bathrooms?
Tell them it's $1 million.
Well, what's the purpose of the clubhouse?
It's a community space. It's a space for families, for kids to change before they go sledding, for birthday parties to happen. We get lots of requests from the community in the community development office, the events office. You know, I want to have my birthday. Can I use the building? They have at Peter Blumet as well. So
Money can be used on my place. Well,
These types of buildings typically get vandalized pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay, I know a lot of people have tried that. I know years ago they tried that in Rouse's Point, didn't even last 2 weeks. You know, people are loose in there and.
Yeah, I hear that. I think part of, you know, like the cost is also that, you know, here we went and said, here's what we need. These are the needs of the park. We obviously need enough bathroom facilities. They need, you know, they're accessible so that, you know, porta potties are not accessible to everyone. They have changing stations so that families can use them. You know, they're a more accessible and inclusive option for our community members. We also asked them to design buildings that are durable, you know, so we're using large glazed blocks, things that can't get destroyed easily, things that are stainless steel that can be gone in and, you know, hosed down, you know, by our teams to stay clean and sanitary. And I think when we push to ask for those amenities, obviously we're going to see a reflection in the cost for those kinds of things as well. And so, you know, we haven't made an investment into our bathroom buildings in decades and decades and decades. And so, you know, now here we are, this is kind of where we're at in terms of the construction costs. When we rebid this project, the bid, you know, we were expecting things to come in a little bit higher. It actually came in pretty much the same. So, you know, we're going to keep taking this out to bid. We'll continue to get a similar price.
Just one more point, and this goes back to the beginning of this project, the beginning of this year, that these items are coming to this council based on conversations we've had with this council. They're not just coming out of nowhere. We've had conversations about what is the priority for these parks. This is how we're going to break it down. That sheet's an update, but that sheet has been floating around for months now. And so when we put items in front of folks, it's because there's an indication that this is what you guys have asked for.
And we asked.
Well, we asked for
I
workable.
don't remember that. I don't.
we asked for workable bathrooms. We didn't ask for $1 million bathrooms with a clubhouse.
With heated-
And I will just bring up, like, the town put up a clubhouse like that. And it was totally destroyed.
And I agree with Counselor
They broke in
Avery.
and destroyed.
I can imagine he has seen an enormous amount of activity down there. And I know he's gonna see it this winter, but the reason you have is because you have that beautiful new place there. So do I think a restroom needs to be there or a bathroom for those kids? Hey, absolutely. I just don't think a playhouse or a clubhouse is.
I have no problem with having bathrooms. It's just maybe
Yeah.
we just need to slow down a little bit for all this money that we're spending on parks. That's my contention.
Well,
We
what
agree.
maybe one of the questions that we should ask as part of informing the decision is, how much deferred debt as of now in 2024 do we have? So the spending that, the resolutions that have authorized spending, when we get to, but considering budget, there's going to be millions of dollars in deferred debt. So that is either going to be a bond or it's going to be a ban. So last year it was a $19 million ban. So Richard, I'm kind of asking you on the spot, and I don't know if you know this answer. Do you know what the total of our deferred debt is for 2024? So the resolutions that we have voted on, and we said, oh, it's. Well, so we didn't take it directly out of general fund right now. We didn't pay for it. So, capital projects, things that are going to be part of bonds or ban for 2024 so far.
Well, we're at $44 million, paying that off this year. We'll be paying it off for the next 15 to 20 years in projects.
44 million? Is that what you said?
44 million. But that's everything.
Mhm.
That's water fund, that's sewer fund, that's general fund. Water fund's quite a bit of it, believe it or not, because of Lake Country Village and because of water wells being developed.
I think maybe a bit of a more focused is how much from the parks are we carrying over for debt?
I think we have to add $1.2 million for this particular project so far. I haven't actually added that $1 million yet because we haven't spent it at the end of last year or hadn't actually committed to too much of it. We spent 922 at this point, and 327 was awarded to the project that we met. But it hasn't had the funds encumbered yet, but still, the funding on this project, if you look at the capital project resolution being presented today, shows about $1.2 million that has to be added to the general fund debt for this project.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
This is so difficult. This
Yeah.
is difficult. I want there to be bathrooms. I want there to be bathrooms. I want Fox Hill to look amazing, finished, and have, that bathroom there for the kids during the winter. But I have such, as Jeff says, heartburn about that clubhouse. I just do. So, I don't know what to do.
I think, we did something really transformative for our community, right? We created a $2.6 million project that was to address a lot of different issues in the parks in our city. And Table 1 summarizes everything that we've done with that money so far. And we're continuing to push to maximize, that 2.5 million. And that's a multi-step complicated process that's involved lots of community input and consultation of professionals and our staff and those kinds of things. I would really love to not see this just be like a one and done. This was the one time in our city that we decided to make this investment. How do we make sustainable investments in our parks over an extended period of time, to keep this stuff going so that it's not like every 40 years we have to rehaul every single bathroom in our city, and so I see this as a phase 1. of many other phases that I hope we can continue to move forward, where we can continue to have other projects come to the table. So that we can keep addressing all of these different issues in our parks. But I do think that seeing phase one complete and seeing these projects move forward signals a lot to our community of where we're headed and what we're committed to, and that we've taken this money and we've been able to accomplish a lot with it, with $2.5 million.
With,
So-
as of right now, once, if we do the table 2, it'll put us over 187,000.
Yeah,
We're over budget.
So phase 2 ain't gonna come anytime soon.
I'd like to move for a roll call vote.
Any further questions? Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
No.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Manette,
No.
Counselor Moore,
No,
Mayor.
Lauder, yes, for the affirmative. Thank you. Carried.
Item 7.182, award of general contractor for Melissa Penfield Park bathroom and building improvement.
Motion by Counselor Talon, second. Counselor Manette, discussion?
Just point of clarification.
Yes.
We're talking about Melissa Penfield.
No, the one before was on South Wow.
We're not on South Platte yet. That's where I want to make sure we're clear.
Seven.
So I just voted
Oh.
on.
Just, I felt like we were going there. I apologize for the clarification earlier.
See,
but
I
we put all the parts
totally
together and we weren't talking on what
Yeah.
park we're talking about. So we're talking about Melissa Penfield for clarification.
1,200, what?
Seven.
We just voted.
You're right, Jacob.
7.182. We merged all the parks together.
All of it together. You're right.
Yep.
I apologize.
Because it's because I called you up and we talked about everything all together. And so 7.181, I thought was South Acres, not most,
South Platte. Fox Hill.
or South Platte, yeah. So I'm turned backwards. Can we,
You want to put that in?
Sure.
no. I pretty much, it all encompasses, it's just,
181, 182, 183 are all the contracts associated to Melissa Penfield.
Right.
And the renovation of Melissa Penfield,
right,
bathroom facility improvement.
and I mean, that's not the vote I wanted to do.
184, 185, 186. Would it help to just vote on these all together rather than as 3 individual items?
Yes,
No.
no,
That's fine. I'm asking the council a
wait,
question.
no.
Wait, no, that's not sufficient.
Is that what you thought, Elizabeth, was Melissa Penfield was not 181?
Yes, I,
Thought that was South Platte.
so.
So we have Talon and Manette on 7.182. You ready for a vote?
And so 7181,
7.181 passed,
Pass.
because there was 3 yeses, 3 noes, and you voted in the affirmative pass.
okay, 7182.
We're on 182, Talon was first, and then a second. You ready for a roll call?
Second was Manette, yep. Roll call,
so we're voting on 7.182 now?
correct. We
Does
voted
this-
on 7181.
Does this
Which I
include,
messed up on.
does this include a clubhouse also, or a extra room or whatever?
Counselor,
I think I remember it being that there was an addition for,
I think there's a community space or there's
Okay.
part of the gathering space in there. as well.
There's also the Melissa Penfield Park and that have been shared prior. This is a renovation of the bathrooms with an addition of a community space, a rentable community space for folks to use, in park.
Further discussion. Roll call,
Counselor Bond,
No,
Counselor Avery.
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Manette.
No.
Counselor Moore,
no,
3 yeses, 3 noes, Mayor.
yes, carried.
Item 7.183, award of plumbing contractor for Melissa Penfield Park bathroom facility improvement.
Motion by Counselor Talon, second. Counselor Avery, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Same part, plumbing.
Yeah,
Same part.
I know. No,
Are you voting on normal plumbing?
yeah.
7.183.
So it's a no?
No, just, no.
No? Counselor Avery?
Yes.
Counselor Gibb?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Manette?
No.
Counselor Moore?
No,
Yes, please.
Oh.
Carried.
Item 7.184, award of electrical contract for South Platte Park bathroom and site improvements.
Okay, South Platte Street. Motion by Counselor Avery, second. Counselor Manette, discussion.
Now, this is gonna be including the little clubhouse and everything.
No, this is electrical.
This is electrical contractor for the
Oh
South
my
Platte
God,
Park
see?
bathroom and site improvements. There's just three of them, right? And
Right,
unfortunately, we did have to split them up as Courtney explained, but they all go together, like they essentially all go together.
okay.
Yeah, thank you. Roll call.
Counselor Bond?
Yes.
Counselor Avery?
Yes.
Counselor Gibb?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Manette?
No.
Counselor Moore?
no,
1, 2, 3, 4, carried.
Item 7.185, award of general contract for South Platte Park bathroom and site improvements.
Motion, Counselor Avery, second. Counselor Manette, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond?
No,
Counselor Avery?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
No.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Manette?
No.
Counselor Moore?
no,
That's 4 no's.
Hold on, hold tight. Yeah, so that's defeated. Okay, so again, we just approved, just so that everybody's aware, we just approved an electrical contract for a building that they just denied building. So the electrical contract is now awarded, but there is no building to work on it. Are we clear on that situation? Okay, we're not clear on that. Great. So that's what just happened. Everybody out there clear? Great. Okay. We're clear?
I'm clear.
Okay,
I
good.
did.
Yeah, great. Okay, good. Well, you, yes, you put a note straight across the board, so you're all set. But so now here we, yep, please be first. Okay, so now here we are with an awarded electrical contract to improve the South Platte bathroom park and site improvement, which was just approved. And the contractor, the general contractor for the building, for building the building has just been denied, been declined, been defeated, essentially, okay? All right. Yes?
yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Understood.
7186.
And 7.186, award of plumbing contract for South Platte Park bathroom and site improvement.
Motion, Counselor Avery, second. Counselor Talon, discussion. Roll call.
Vaughn?
no,
Counselor Avery?
Yes.
Counselor Gibb?
No.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Manette?
No.
Counselor Moore?
No,
Defeated.
Item 7.187, budget adjustment sewer fund.
Motion. Counselor Avery, seconds. Counselor Talon, thank you. Discussion. All right, roll call.
Counselor Bond?
yes.
Counselor Avery?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Manette?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.188, revising capital project is 5110.88, 2022 park maintenance and upgrade.
Withdrawals. Yeah, withdraw. Yep, I'll take a motion to withdraw. Motion by Counselor Gibbs, second. Counselor Bond, all in favor to withdraw this item?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Is there any new business coming from this council?
I have a follow-up question. So I spoke with, Chief Mitchell before the work session began, which is why I was late coming in. Regarding, substantial list of complaints from a constituent named Mr. Lamette. Chief Mitchell told me that he responded to all my concerns by email to you, Mayor. But is not clear if any of those responses have been shared with Mr. Lamette. So Lieutenant Pond, excuse me, Chief Mitchell informed me that you would be able to follow up on these issues. And I guess what I'm asking is, would Mr. Lamette have a follow-up regarding his complaints? That's all I'm asking. Because no one has contacted him with resolution. Apparently there's an in-house email from Chief Mitchell explaining what's been done. So
I'll look again, by the way, Counselor, but the only thing that I received from Chief Mitchell was the response that Lieutenant Pond actually did engage with Mr. Lamette and had an extensive conversation with him to resolve some of these concerns. Also, as you know, as everybody knows, that we have now 5 or 6 emails from Mr. Lamette with a list of demands and FOIL requests and arguments, and that, you know, it's gonna take some time to pick through.
well, I'm just telling you what Chief Mitchell said, which is he responded to you, Mayor, and I was hoping that someone could respond to Mr. Lamette because he has a right to hear what the solutions are gonna be.
Sure, and part of that response is waiting for the FOIL officer to respond to the 3 or 4 pages of FOIL demands as well. So, any further new business?
Yeah, I
Yep.
just have something a little different. I was asked if it would be possible if that kind of gardening area that's where Court Street meets City Hall Place, if that could be attended to by people in the community, like if they could plant some stuff there, because it's kind of like overgrown, like you know where all those like these planting things are, and then there's that whole area there. It's kind of
Under the trees?
yeah.
Is it on the back half of the parking lot or the
It's like
front half?
right on the corner.
Sure, I got you.
Yeah,
I mean, there's somebody out there gardening anyway, so.
I know, he's the one who asked me.
Yeah, nobody has a problem. All right, any further new business? Motion to adjourn. Counselor Talon, second by Counselor Avery, all in favor?
Aye.
We're now adjourned. Thanks, folks.